Our top stories in Mexico. Midterm elections were plagued with violence around the country, where at least 9 candidates were killed during the campaign period and another 20 were forced out of the race through threats and acts of intimidation.
In total, 21 people directly related to the elections were killed. Most of the unrest was registered in Oaxaca and Guerrero. Electoral authorities were forced to cancel elections in about 600 polling stations. The voting finally came to an end, and according to official preliminary results, abstentionism was over 50% across the country. Officials appeared to be satisfied with the results.
The federal election day has ended in the entire country. The main piece of information today is that citizens voted to influence the future of our nation.
President Enrique Peña Nieto and his wife Angelica Rivera cast their vote in Mexico City. When polling stations closed, Peña Nieto briefly addressed the nation, saying citizens had expressed their political will for the path of institutions. The president and various of his top ministers faced a corruption scandal involving the acquisition of properties in dubious circumstances. Peña Nieto said that despite calls to boycott the elections, millions turned out to vote.
The mandate that citizens have given all of the authorities is to reject violence and intolerance.
The midterm elections were sure to be a test for the president and his ruling PRI party. They won a working majority in the lower house of Congress, along with their political allies. After 62% of the votes were counted, the PRI and its allies, the Green Party and the National Alliance Party, were expected to hold about 250 of the 500 seats in the lower house. The right-wing PAN party would control about 160, the leftist PRD 50, while the new Morena party surfaced as the fourth power with about 45 seats. Possibly the most important result of Sunday's elections was the historic victory of independent governor, candidate for Nuevo León, Jaime Rodríguez, also known as El Bronco, due to his rough attitude and his hardline stance against drug trafficking. He survived 2 attempts against his life by Los Zetas drug cartel members in 2011. His victory breaks with the 2-party system in the northern border state, where the PRI has governed for all but 6 years since 1929. When proclaiming his triumph, he warned that those who robbed from the state would be jailed.
Our correspondent Clayton Kahn was reporting live from Oaxaca, one of the 4 hotspots named by the government in Mexico due to pre-electoral violence. Here is the story.
Throughout Friday and Saturday, thousands of federal police and the military were deployed to Mexico's southern states of Guerrero, Chiapas, Michoacán, and Oaxaca, where protests continue against the political class calling for a boycott of the elections.
The federal government placed in action an operation with the objective to guarantee the best conditions for the citizens to exercise the right to vote.
Yet here in the state of Oaxaca, dissident teachers of the 75,000-strong Section 22 of the National Teachers Union, who've been on strike since Monday with blockades at the offices of the state's 11 electoral districts, affirm that the military presence is anything but democratic.
It seems to us that the government has always said the armed forces, the military forces, are to defend the people. With this action, it shows that is totally false.
Out of the state's 570 municipalities, 418 operate under the constitutionally recognized uses and customs or indigenous self-governance, prompting much of the working class and farm worker population to express distrust of the electoral process.
The elections are not important because they don't help us. Actually, it's the opposite. They actually harm us, because they come to take up our time when we are very busy with our work in the field, or with the Mother Earth, who gives us food. The parties only come to disturb us.
Recent polls leading up to these midterm elections expose that more than 65% of Mexico's population views the participating parties as not having legitimacy. Clayton Kahn, Telesur, Oaxaca City.